Tell you what, you guys, what an interesting night of footy that was. Very high scoring fantasy game in our first one, and then a very low scoring game in our Roosters and Storm game, with a lot happening in that one too. So for this night's one, great for them to get a win. Played a lot better this week than the previous. I think just Sharks losing a few players before this game, and Knights gaining a few back was just enough to turn the tables on this one. I thought the Sharks were going to win, but a bit of Ponga brilliance, even though he was sick, gets them across the line. So, and Brodie Jones, how incredible was he? But anyway, guys, 101 points for Ponga. How many people are trading him in after this week? God, he's good to watch. Again, just does a bit of everything. He's kicking goals as well. But to get two try assists, feeling how he was and being sick was an amazing effort, and definitely shows why he's one of the top three, top two guns in our wing fullback position. And you've seen that over the past few years that he picks up the 100 every 6 to 7 weeks on a regular basis, basically there, and does really well for side. So if you picked him up this week, then well done. And if you haven't yet, he'll be one I think a lot of people are going for. Tyson Frizzell, a little bit of an interesting one, picks up 92 in an amazing game there. Just did absolutely everything. Got that try assist at the end to Ponga, and shows why Frizz is someone who's been a keeper, a mid-50s keeper over the last bunch of years, and these guys, they always revert back to the mean. They always end up scoring where they should be, and his average is 62, might be a little bit high, but there's a reason why he scored really well those first three games. These last couple were a bit of a down one, especially when the Knights weren't playing as well, but for him to go back to a nice score of 92 there, if you held on, I hope you did. You've been rewarded for that. And we move on to Nakora, who hasn't really been fantasy relevant, but a nice 74 for him. Raymond, I had a few people mention him to me, and geez, it would have been nice to pick him over someone like Joey Manu, but anyway, we'll get to that. But 72, just basically had a perfect game. 10 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, 170 meters, and got a try in there. So awesome work for him, and he's someone that has been very close to or has been a keeper in the past in the centres. So for him at 439, if you picked him up, well done to you. But after this week, he'll be up about 470, 480. So possibly an option, but you have to wait and see what happens through the week. But we're all playing centre roulette at the moment, so let's just simmer with that one there. Mitch Barnett, if you hold on to him as well, you've done well, and you picked up a 70 with a try, and I think he's looks like he's fairly well recovered from his injury that he had a bunch of weeks ago. Just didn't look himself the last few weeks, and this week was much better. And obviously picked up a try there and a try assist, which he's not going to get on a weekly basis. But 41 tackles, four busts, and 130 meters is just what you'd be looking for there. Kurt Mann was a lot better. Looks like he's gotten over his injury too, and he's gone down a lot in price, and he becomes a fairly interesting option because last year he averaged over 50, and if he can get back to that, then he's about 150k undervalued. And my worry for him is he's probably not exactly a keeper, so just keep that in mind for him. And it's good to see Watson go back into the 13 role. Actually started this time for once, and played 50 minutes at the top, and then came back for the last sort of 12, 13 minutes there, and he just makes a lot of tackles. Like you wouldn't have expected it from him. Expected from a lot of the bigger guys to make some of those bigger tackles, but I guess he's just defending like he would would be a hooker. So him and Brayley in there are in those majority of tackles, and he makes 80 meters and didn't really get any attacking stats, but like he has in the past. But those it's amazing when some games he can get 30 odd tackles and a bunch of tackle breaks, and then the other ones he can tackle really well. So I think Watson's a keeper definitely in to have him as a dual as well, and the hooker in the mids. If he keeps getting that 13 role and plays around 60 minutes, I think he's going to average somewhere in the mid-50s, which would be great. Well done for those guys that have him, and he's going to be up at a lot closer to 600 very soon. Townsend, another 60. He was on like 2 after 25 minutes too, and then gets over a point a minute to finish off. And again, 44 points in his tackles and kick meters was really good, and picked up 3 try assists. So playing really well at the moment. Obviously didn't get his team the win, but you've got a couple more weeks out of him until Johnson comes back. Brayley, our keeper hooker, 71.5 average over 6 games, still incredible. 60 this week, so didn't have to do too much. 57 tackles and a turnover tackle was the bulk of his points there. And his brother Blake with 57, so a couple of better games for him, but again, Jaden with 347k made and Blake negative 54, so not so good there. If you've got Connor Tracy on your interchange there and you decide to play him, well done. But you know, not too relevant at this stage. Saifidi with 53. If you're still holding on to him, you're happy with that score. But again, he's not in that top echelon of keepers there. Brodie Jones with 53. I was talking about, just did absolutely everything. Came in for Heimel Hunt, who got injured to his hammy. Comes on in the 7th minute and just absolutely dominates in the centres, which you wouldn't expect for a big guy like him. But yeah, well done to him and hats off. Rudolph Perotti, Wilton. A lot of people brought Wilton in. He ended up moving into the centres, so for him, end up with a pretty good score. And he's actually looks like a fairly decent player, especially in the fantasy terms. To average 45 over his first, I think, 4 games, he's really good, and he's going to be up around 120k, 130k increase in value after this game. So well done to him. Clem again getting less minutes and almost a point a minute, but not good enough, unfortunately. I think a few people were trying to get rid of him last week, and I think a few in a row like that, for him to be averaging under 50 is very underwhelming for him. We've come to expect a mid 50s, 57 kind of average, and he's just not performing that at the moment. Just not getting any attacking stats at all. So very alarming for him. Kennedy, another solid game at 39, and who else we got? Moylan with 27 was again, you're pretty much close to where he's average at 30, and you've made a little bit of money on him, and you're either keeping him as cover or you can move him on if any other good cash cows pop up. Bradman Best up there at 611k. He's picked up a 29 in his return, so probably a good thing if you don't own him is that his price comes down a bit and we can pick him up in the mid 500s when he comes good. Would be the ideal. Braden Musgrove, the new winger for his debut game, actually played pretty well, I thought. So was very solid under the high ball and did everything he needed to. And Talakai off the interchange bench. It was interesting to see him come back because he was amazing last year. If he can drop his price down a fair bit and then he gets a starting spot, he could be an interesting option, especially through the bye period there. Heimel Hunt, if you have him, got injured, unfortunately. He should be out for a bunch of weeks. But that's that game there, guys. If you're enjoying these, please like, hit subscribe. Really appreciate all the love and support. We move to the Storm, and geez, what a strange game this was. Unless you're a Storm player's owner, then look, where's the Roosters guys? Lindsay off the bench, wow. But Jerome up top with 85. So if you held him, good work. If you didn't, it's painful. He's gonna have these random games like that, and then he's gonna have the 40 sort of average there. But why are people still wanting to get rid of Munster? He just delivers every week. Crazy. Low score of 49 for the year, I believe. So 69 this week, 9 tackle breaks and 5 offloads. If your half can get that, then he's always going to dominate, and he's going to get tries, he's going to get the tackles, the kick meters. Didn't even have to do as much of that this week and still get 69. So amazing for him. Brandon Smith, I imagine a lot of people got rid of him, and this week he had an absolute blinder, mixing between that hooker role and then through the middle. So this is what he can do, but the minutes played is a bit low, and with Kamakamika they're getting 60 minutes, which is pretty cool for him. But again, not really an option. If you started with him, you made 97k and a bit more from that after this week, but that's that. Harry Grant, how good is he? God, he can play. 46 minutes. I imagine that's going to bump up fairly quickly over the next bunch of weeks. I think, just with how good he is on the park, I think you need him on there for the 80 minutes, and that's going to come. And hopefully, that 59 drops his price a little bit further. But I think you're going to get him somewhere around 750, and I think that would be a great pickup if once he gets a starting role. I think he'll be playing 80 or close to it and scoring really well because he just does a bit of everything. Like 120 run meters for your hooker. You're gonna be winning all the time, right? That's when Cook has 121 meters, he gets 80s. And to have 120 in 46 minutes is crazy. So he's gonna be a great option. Christian Welch doing much better these days. Like obviously the offloads part of his game now, the hit and spin and out the back, which is great for extra points. But he's just not chasing guys anymore. He's waiting in the line. I think he was a little bit eager at the start of the season, and that showed in his missed tackle count. But to have him averaging 51 over the first 6 games now, we're really happy as owners. And you can just keep holding him. Just keep holding him, guys. You can see, like, we'll go a bit lower. Like, even, guys like Crichton have a low game. So, Welch has had one really low one, and the rest have been pretty solid. So, be happy with his output at the moment and keep holding him at least until the bye period, I think. And, Pappy had a head knock, and it will be interesting to see how he recovers during the week and if he'll be able to play next week. But, a lot of people, like, he was like dead on the ground there, and he, still passed his HIA. So, for him to come back and still do really well, that was a great effort. And pick up 53 for owners, even with the HIA. So, we're happy with that. Osofa, Kafusi, Lindsay Collins. If anyone held on to him, you're happy with his output in 44 minutes, but he's definitely very much needed in this Roosters pack at the moment. That especially with Hargraves went down injured, Takayoho went down injured as well. So Collins is going to be really important over the next bunch of weeks, I think. Bromwich, Morris, Hutchison. Yeah, if you have Hutchison, he's done well again. The 32 tackles is a big key there. Yeah, and two turnover tackles there, but with Roosters getting absolutely smashed, there wasn't a lot on offer for him. Tupanua, these are the types of games we were talking about. If he didn't have any attacking stats, he had 8 missed tackles, unfortunately. So he's someone that you could probably look to move on fairly soon. He's not going to be making you much money anymore, and is not a keeper. So just look into that. But again, just remember this Roosters game. This game for the Roosters was really low in fantasy scoring, just because they got dicked really. Angus Crichton 38, so had 6 missed tackles and no attacking stats. So bit of a tough one for him this week, and as I said, the whole Roosters team. When Crichton and Teddy are getting kept to low stats, like for Teddy, he only makes 74 meters. 5 tackle breaks, but like 3 of them win one run. And if Teddy's making 11 tackles, you know that they're under the pump. So he got a sneaky little try assist at the end, but when those two guys aren't doing very well, they're getting smashed. And same with Radley, like just so many missed tackles through the middle for the Roosters guys. 9 missed tackles for Radley. Apart from that, did really well with 42 tackles and 2 turnovers. But for him, I think you can just keep holding off. If you got him, you got to hold. But if you don't have him, you're looking for his price to drop down that little bit further. Justin Olam in a team that won, didn't have to do too much. Only 90 meters, 6 tackles, which was again, they had the ball a lot more than what the Roosters did. Sam Walker was someone I decided to hold off on playing this week, which ended up being a good result. I think the People's team, we still had to play him, but just with Sam this week, like looking at his gameplay last week, he obviously was really relying on those attacking stats at the end, just because sitting around halftime he was at 10, and for Sam, I believe he didn't have as many missed tackles as I thought he might, but he's going to need those attacking stats going forward to score really well, and that's why you buy these guys at 228, because they have the chance of having these lower games and stifling their money making potential. And at least his 24 isn't going to ruin him because he's averaging 40. If he can get back to a 30, 40, 50 against a lesser team, then he'll be fine. And I'd expect that going forward. So don't stress about Walker. Obviously, it slows down his money making, but other than that, it's okay. Now, Takayoho is the real issue here. In his rib cut, he's broken a rib, unfortunately. So it's either if it's a minor one, then he could be a 1 to 3 week, according to NRL physio. And if it's worse than that, it could be 3 to 6. So we'll have to determine that during the week, and he might be a sell, unfortunately, if that's the case, because he's that borderline keeper guy. 19 in 28 minutes is not ideal. And our last one there is Joey Manu, and unfortunately I bought him in a couple of weeks ago for a 41 to 37, which was fine at like keeper level scores, but to get a 13, nothing went right for him. He's got 5 missed tackles, 3 errors, and a penalty there, and a bunch of them there. He's like had the ball on last tackle, and it was being held up, and he had the chance to offload, and he was like waiting for someone to run through, and then could have just offloaded but didn't, and then just ended up getting losing the ball. And that's a nice 4-point swing. He did that a few times there, and was really running out of the line and trying to tackle people and throwing an arm out like a Mitch Pearce style thing. I didn't like that at all. But when your centers got 47 meters for the game, that your team's got absolutely hammered, and it's something to worry about a little bit with these Roosters guys. Like they're probably not a top 4 team at the moment. They're probably a 6th or 7th best team, I'd say, in terms of their current form. They obviously had a really good 10 minutes at the back end of the last game, but they're going to struggle a little bit, I think. And it was probably a slightly silly decision to go Manu, when I could have probably gone Mommy or something like that. But again, it's something you live and you learn. He has been a keeper every year for the past bunch, and he will come back to that. He's still averaging 38, and he hasn't really scored any tries yet. So something to think about there. But there you go, guys. That's the 2 games for last night. I hope that all that information helps you there and allows you to make some decisions on your team next week. And as I said, I appreciate all the support and hope you enjoy all the Saturday games for this week. And they're a little bit more kinder than this game if you've got a bunch of Roosters players. But as I said, enjoy, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.